Happy New Year's Eve and welcome to the second round of the college football playoff. We have one game today, three games tomorrow. The game on deck is maybe one of the worst ones, but I think it could be a little bit better than people think. We have number 6 Penn State against number 3 Boise State. These are playoff rankings, not the actual rankings. This is the VRBO Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. Penn State at the time of recording is 11.5 point favorite. Over under of this game is 53 and a half. Now, if you guys followed around the first round of the college football playoff, we experienced blowout after blowout after blowout after blowout. 4 games. The lowest difference between the points was 10 in Indiana, which they scored 14 points in the final 120 seconds of that game, 180 seconds of that game. Terrible round one, and we kind of all expect it. The committee's kind of on blast for keeping out the Alabamas, the South Carolinas, the Miamis, and allowing the Clemson. Well, I guess Clemson was kind of supposed to be in, but allowing Boise State in and a couple others. And now we got ourselves a Big Ten Penn State against a Mountain West Boise State. And I'm just worried this might be the same situation we experienced in round one. So I'm nervous. I'm going to send it to you. I do have a future on Penn State. I do love Penn State, but is Boise State going to put up a fight? What do you think?
I don't think they are. I like Penn State to roll in this game. And I kind of hope they do. I'm glad this is kind of a standalone playoff game before we get into the other three on New Year's Day, because I think that's going to give some value to the dogs. And I'm leaning, well, at least one dog on New Year's Day. But yeah, I think Penn State rolls again in this one, and I just think Boise State's completely outclassed. Um, Typically, I would be nervous about having the four favorites winning and covering in blowout fashion in the first round of the playoffs. Um, but Boise State is probably, it's the biggest America's sweetheart team in the college football playoff with Genty's rise this year. I know, most of the public was kind of hoping he would win the Heisman, and they're kind of back in Boise State because of the Genty story, I think. So every public person out there is thinking Genty is going to run his way all over Penn State, run them into the semifinals of the college football playoff. But I don't think it happens. I mean, they did play Oregon back in week 2, but outside of that, they have not faced a defense anywhere close to Penn State. And not only that, but you got to wonder, they put up a good game against Oregon, 34-37 in their only loss of the year. Um, but you just have to wonder how much Oregon was really taking them seriously at that time. No one knew that Boise State was going to be quite this good. So I don't give them much credit for keeping that one close. In this game, obviously, Penn State's fully ready, fully prepared, has everything to lose, everything to play for. I think their defense is going to really round up Genty in Boise State's offense. So, yeah, I think Penn State rolls in this game. I'm looking for the favorites to continue to kind of blow teams out here. I really don't see Boise State winning the game, so it's kind of hard to look at taking them plus the points, especially with how public they are or are going to be. So give me Penn State. I think they roll one more time in this college football playoff.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the Oregon game between Boise State. Like you mentioned, that was week 2. And everyone kind of thought, oh, well, this was before people really thought of Boise State as a good team or kind of even knew Genty. I know Genty's been around for a while, but I haven't heard about him until this year. I haven't heard about him until week 4, 5, or 6. So week 2, he was kind of under the radar. And I'm not saying Oregon took him lightly, but we forget that Oregon also beat Idaho week 1 when they were a 39-point favorite, and they beat Idaho by 10, scoring late in that game to win by 10. And then Oregon, beats Boise State by 3. And then people are questioning Oregon. And then here's Oregon, number 1 team in the country. Making a shot at the national championship game. So I do think Oregon kind of caught Boise when Boise was very under the radar, and I think Oregon may have taken them a little lightly there. But yeah, it's a Boise State team. We keep forgetting that they went through a Mountain West conference schedule, and that's just not the same as Penn State, and not the same as the Big Ten. I know Penn State can never win the big game. They struggled, losing to Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. They lost to Ohio State. Both those games were close. Both those games are one possession games. Penn State always wins as favorites. They usually always cover. They've struggled covering this year with James Franklin, but they usually always cover as well. I'm right there with you. I think Penn State continues to roll. I think Boise State is completely outclassed. And Boise State is, like you said, the America's sweetheart team. Everyone loves Genty. They're a little upset that he didn't win the Heisman, but it goes back to that. They're playing a Mountain West schedule as opposed to Travis Hunter playing the Big 12 schedule or Penn State playing a Big 10 schedule. So if you want to be compared to the big boys, and I don't want to crap on Power Five or Group of Five schools because they play football too, but they are just not in the same conference or level as these big boys, especially the Big 10 and the SEC. When we get into the Big 12 or the ACC, I think maybe they're a closer level, but yeah, they're completely outclassed here. I like Penn State to roll. Kind of hope it's more of a game, just because round one, it was underwhelming. I was so much looking forward to the first ever 12-team playoff round one, and it was miserable, terrible. But I hope it's a better game. But I have a hard time seeing Penn State not blowing Boise State out. So I'll take Penn State at 11.5. I think they win probably by 3+ touchdowns in this game. I don't think it's going to be close. The total is a little worrisome, or concerning. I'm wondering what's going on with that. Kind of love the under, but did not expect it to be this high. So maybe I might have a play potentially on the over of that game. I'm not sure, but I like Penn State quite a bit.
Yeah, I think well, we'll talk about it in the next episode here, but I think that could give some value to some dogs on New Year's Day.
I hope so. Like you said, we do have 3 games tomorrow on New Year's Day, 3 more college football playoff games. After that, we have a couple more bowl games as well. Make sure you stay tuned to our page for every single bowl game, every single playoff game. We give a quick little preview. A lot more games coming up. Stay tuned, guys. And until then, we'll see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, to Better in Green, to Better in Green, listen in and cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover all spots from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.